Hello and welcome. This is the Asylum, and today I'm going to show you how to set Fog-of-War clues for JSS in Sudokumaker, so that the clues themselves outside the grid are in Fog-of-War, and so that everything looks great when you're done. Now we're going to start from the point where we've already painted our picture. We've already decided what our picture is going to look like. We've painted it, and we know what the things are going to look like. So let's go ahead and do the first initial steps, just like we normally would with a regular JSS in Sudokumaker, by adding the squares where they're going to go before we start working on the digits. But unlike a regular JSS, we're not going to use a regular 9x9 grid. We're actually going to use a custom grid. We're going to go New Grid. Then we're going to choose Puzzle Type Custom. And then we're going to set the grid size to what we want it to be. Now, let's say we've got 5 clues max, both horizontally and vertically. So we need 14 columns and 14 rows. Alright, so let's create that. Now we've got this nice pretty grid here. Now the first thing you notice is that we don't have any regions. This doesn't consider it a Sudoku or anything, it's just a 14 by 14 area. So let's add some. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add regions. So let's add regions. I don't know why that said 23. Now for this outside region, we're actually going to leave it alone. Completely alone. Because otherwise it's going to make the conflict checker go even crazier than it already does. The conflict checker already kind of screws up doing this. It goes even crazier when we make this outside region its own region. So we're just going to leave it alone and say we've only got 9 regions. Now we're going to add our squares. So we go to cosmetic symbols, we go to rectangle, we set this to 85. We set this to 85. And we will make these, we'll make it red. Okay, so let's just assume we've got a square here, a square here, square here, here, square here, square here, square here, square here, here, and here, square here, here, and here, and no square there. Square there, square there, square there, square there. Whoa, don't want a square there. Square there. Alright, let's assume that that's what our picture needed for rectangles, for squares, colored squares. Let's just assume that's what they needed for colored squares. Now the next thing that's important is we need to cover the grid and the clues in fog. To do that, we add a cosmetic cage. Where are you? Cosmetic cages. There you are. Cosmetic cages. And we need to add one that says fog light. Now the one that I add always to start is this one here in the corner where there's no clues, and there can be no clues, and there can be nothing that can reveal clues. So we want to go ahead and have this revealed at the start so that it's open and it's wide open and it's not covered in fog, because we want, at the end of the puzzle, we want no fog to be seen at all. So we're going to get rid of the fog here. We do that by creating a fog light. Now we've got a fog light lighting up these regions. So this gives us this open area in that uncovered in fog, and the rest of the area is covered in fog. And we can see that by clicking the play button. We click the play button, it'll open it up in Sudoku Pad, and we see that the area that we've got under the fog light is unclear, but everything else is covered in fog, including all of our squares. Now, we're going to assume that there are squares that we know the totals of. That we need to know the totals of. For instance, let's say that this is a 45. Just for sake of argument, let's say this is a 45. And that this is a low digit, a 5 or less, or 4 or less, 3 or less. Well, let's just say it's a 1 or a 2 actually. Let's just be really clear, because we want to clear some fog. We'll say it's a 1 or a 2. So we put a 1 or a 2 here, and we put a 45 here in the text, using text, like we normally would. Just like we normally would. You know, we go to cosmetic symbols, text, size 36. All F's, and we do 45 and 2. Okay. Now, what that gives us is nothing. Because if we go to play, again, those 2 clues are still, even though they would be immediately known, are still locked behind fog, and so we don't know where they are. So what we need to do is we need to create a fog light that includes these clues. Now you notice also that these clues aren't going to be able to be gotten to. Well, this one is. This one isn't. If we make this clue a cage clue, a fog clue, then we can clear these 3, but we can't clear this one. But we can't clear this one. So we need 2 fog lights, in fact. So let's go back to our regions. Or not our regions, our cosmetic cages, and we'll add a cage, and we'll add a cage here, and we'll call it fog light. It needs to be in all caps. Now we're going to add a cage here and call it fog light. Now when we click play, oh, and we're going to add a cage here and call it fog light. Now we've got our cosmetic cages in, and we know that this cell is a 2, so let's go ahead and put that in as an answer. 2 is the answer. Then we click play, and now we notice, hey look, this 2 is visible and this 45 is visible now. We know that these are all empty because this is 45 and we can shade this whole cell. Furthermore, we know that this cell right here is shaded and it's part of a 2, as long as there are no clues below it. Which there could be. We don't know. So the next thing we need to figure out is how to make it work. But as we can see, because we put the 2 in as the answer, if we put in a 2 as a digit, it clears away the fog and we'll get more clues. So we come back here and let's try to figure out how to make this 2. Oh, we easily can make this 2 only a 2 by increasing the fog light. In fact, we'll delete this fog light and we'll increase this fog light, and so we just have the one box. Now we've increased this fog light. Now when we click play, we see that we've got a 45 clue across here, but we've only got one 2 clue in this column, so that 2 clue has to go here. Just as an example. Now, we want to get some more information. So what we want to do is we want to make this 2 into a cage. Let's make this 2 into some extra information. So to do that, we go back to Sudoku land, Sudokumaker. Now, we want to create a cosmetic cage for this 2. However, and we're going to want to create a cosmetic cage here. So that when we place the 2, it gets revealed, and then we can replace, we can reveal some more. However, there will be instances where you'll want to put both a cosmetic cage, a labeled cosmetic cage, and a fog light cage in the same place. Therefore, I keep my fog light regions separate from my other cosmetic regions. So when I want to add a cosmetic region, like cosmetic cage, rather, another one, I just add another, I added another constraint that's cosmetic cages, and notice I have 2 of them now. This one is only for fog lights. This one is only for fog reveal clues. So we put a cage here and we'll call it A. And we'll put a cage here and we'll call it A. Now when we click play, we see we've got, again, the 45 is full. So we'd fill in the 45, and then we'd say, hey, this is a 2. And hey, look, this 2 is in an A cage, and there's an A cage right here, so we can put it. Oh, we didn't put a 2 in here. Hold on, we need to put a 2 in here. Now we click play. Now we got a 2 in here. Now when we put a 2 in here, it clears out this whole area. And then we can put a cage in here. So what I would do next is I would put in a cosmetic cage here, B, and then I would find something. Let's make this 42. That's still on cosmetic cages. We don't want it that. We want it on cosmetic symbols, text. 42. Now that, if we play that, and we put the B here, and we click play, we can then put in our 2, see that we get a nice A, and now we've got a 42 something and then a 2. Well, this something has to be a 1. Oh, I didn't put the thing in, it's just, but it is working automatically. So now this is going to work automatically, and therefore now we've cleared that out. And then what we would do then, next, is put some discernible clues in here with a C, and put in a C here so that we can open up these clues. You know, put in a 7 here and open up these clues, and then see that this is a 4, and open up these clues, and then this would be a 6. Now we notice when we get a 6 that these 2 clues aren't unshaded. So one thing we do need to do is we need to come over here to our fog lights and extend this fog light to here. That way everything gets unshaded when everything is selected. That's going to apply here as well. Here as well, and here as well, and here as well. And then there'll be one over here that's like this. Okay, so now we've got the basics of how to put in squares, how to put in digits in the grid to unlock clues, how to put in cages to unlock clues, and everything like that. So we've got the basics down. That's the basics of how you do it. The hard part is figuring out how to make sure you get in all the fog unshaded while still, you know, while giving clues that are discernible, that also give obvious, you know, obvious direction for where the next fog reveal is. That's the hard part. But that's how you do it. You place cosmetic grids You place the number in the grid. You know, you get cosmetic cages. You label them A, B, C, D, whatever. I prefer letters over numbers. And then you just label, you put the same cosmetic cage in the clues with the same letter, and then you use the same tool that you embed the answer tool with to embed the answer, and there you go. You're good to go. But if we put a 1 here and a 1 here, we'll click play. Let's restart. Oh, because it's not using the embedded solution. Okay. If we went share, Sudoku pad, use currently filled values as a solution, share, not share, copy to clipboard. Now it should work with 2, but work with 2, but not work with 2, but work with 1. Yes, see, you see, now it works. You have to embed the solution for the fog to work, or else it will just clear automatically, no matter what you put in. So that's how you put in clues, and how you get clues revealed, how you uncover the grid. You put a series of cosmetic cages that are labeled with what are in the grid, and they're transferred in and they unlock other stuff, and it's a domino effect down the line of unlocking stuff as we go. Now, the next thing that's important, now that we know how to clue all of our grid, and we know how to put in the solution to our grid, the problem is when we click play, we're in play right now, and we've got grid lines all outside the grid. Those are really ugly, really distracting, and really confusing to the solver. It'd be much better if there weren't any grid lines. Well, fortunately for us, there is a command called setting no grid equals 1. If you see, hopefully you can see that, you do question mark as in query parameter, setting no grid equals 1. Turn on the no grid setting. We do that, and look at what we got. We've got a nice new grid where all that fuzziness on the outside, all that gridness on the outside is gone. The problem is all the yummy gridness on the inside of the grid is also gone. We've still got our region boxes, so that's good, but we don't have our regular boxes. So we need to fix that. Here's how we do that. So what we do is we need to add another constraint, a cosmetic lines constraint. Now go to edit appearance because it will start in red for some reason. We want thickness to be 1. Layer to be auto is fine. And then we're just going to trace along the missing lines. Okay, now we've got all the lines in, but if we click share and we copy clipboard, and we go there, we can see, oh, and we put in no settings equals 1. You'll see that the grid lines still aren't showing up, which is really unfortunate for us. But there is a way to fix that. So what we need to do is we need to go to Mark Tech Fans Sudoku Pempa Converter. Hopefully you can see that. And then we paste in our Sudoku pad URL. Then we go to action and we say convert to JSON. And now we've got the puzzle as JSON data. Let's fix that little error. So then we got cages. Cells, regions. Now we see we've got lines. We've got the line section. And then we see, if we look in the line section, the lines have a target section that's listed as overlay. If we change that to cell cell grids. So everywhere it says overlay, we change it to cell grids. Okay, now we want to open a new tab and we'll convert the puzzle. Now we notice we still have grid lines, but if we now add setting no grid equals 1, and look at that. We now have a beautiful image which perfectly shows what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to set this fog of war in Sudoku so that the fog of war is or the clues are in the fog of war. The grid is in the fog of war. They're both revealable. And there isn't an extra grid outside the actual grid lines. There's just regular grid there. So, thank you very much for joining me on this. This pretty much sums up everything that there is to know about creating, setting Fog-of-War JSS in Sudokumaker. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found this very entertaining, and we'll see you in the next video.